One nuclear weapon.
On the program, Canada gets new Prime Minister. Mark Carney is sworn in days after Justin Trudeau resigned. Without immediate action, Sudan's crisis deepens and threatens already weak food system, leaving millions at risk of famine and displacement. Plus, Nigerian diplomat says political solution in Sudan needed now more than ever. This is one issue we shall discuss in this week's program. Remember, Global Update brings you up to speed with stories you missed within the week. Do sit back. I am Chinenye Ngoye. Welcome to Global Update. Now, let's begin with a brief outlook of trending stories within the week. Here is a graphic representation.
One nuclear weapon. One nuclear weapon. One nuclear weapon. One nuclear weapon.
Mark Carney has been sworn in as Canada's new Prime Minister, and he will now steer his country through a trade war landscape brought by U.S. President Donald Trump.
Mark Carney, do swear that
Carney, 59, replaces Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who announced his resignation in January but remained in power until his Liberal Party elected a new leader. Mark Carney is widely expected to trigger a general election in the coming days or weeks.
the president is a successful business person and deal maker. We're his largest client in so many industries, and working together in a proper commercial way.
The governing Liberal Party had appeared poised for a historic election defeat this year until Trump declared economic war and repeatedly has said Canada should become the 51st state. Now the party and its new leader could come out on top. Carney has said he is ready to meet with Trump if he shows respect for Canadian sovereignty. He said he doesn't plan to visit Washington at the moment, but hopes to have a phone call with the president soon. And now to Africa. Let's take this report on the situation of Sudan crisis, which is escalating rapidly.
The humanitarian crisis in Sudan continues to worsen, with millions of lives at risk as violence spreads across the country. UNICEF's executive director recently briefed the UN Security Council on the dire situation.
In Sudan today, sexual violence is pervasive. It is used to humiliate, dominate, disperse, forcibly relocate, and terrify an entire population. Right now, an estimated 12.1 million women and girls, and increasingly men and boys, are at risk of sexual violence. This is an 80% increase from the previous year.
Over 30 million people will need humanitarian assistance this year. Among them, 16 million are children. Famine is spreading and the health system is failing, with over 3 million children under 5 facing the threat of deadly diseases like cholera and malaria. The international community is being urged to take immediate action to stop the bloodshed and provide vital support to those in need.
We are joined by a Nigerian diplomat who served as a former ambassador to Sudan, shares his thoughts on the need for an immediate solution.
It is unfortunate what is happening in the Republic of South Sudan. But this is the type of thing you get when you bring ethnicity or tribalism in what you are doing. When the Republic of South Sudan was fighting the government in Khartoum, they were united. The Dinka, of which Salva Kiir is a member,
Yes.
and Nuer, of which Riek Machar
Yes.
is a member.
Yes.
They forgot about their differences because they had a common enemy. The common enemy is the Arab-dominated government in Khartoum. So they succeeded.
Yes.
There was peace agreement that was signed
Yes.
with a clause in the agreement that South Sudan could break away from the Republic of Sudan. Now, another thing that appears to have compounded the problem, Riek Machar ensured that all important government positions went to his own Dinka people, to the dismay of Nuer people who also fought
Yes.
for the independence of South Sudan. And other ethnic groups smaller ethnic groups
Yes.
felt and still feel marginalized. You remember so many meetings took place, either in Ethiopia or somewhere else.
Under the leadership of IGAD.
Yes, with the intention is to settle the problem. But the problem has defied solution. So, what do you do if you want peace to reign?
Yes, that is it.
In the Republic of South Sudan? Both Salva Kiir and Riek Machar must give way for fresh set of people, perhaps with brighter ideas,
Yes.
to take over,
Yes.
to make sure that things move well. We are yet to understand what is leadership. And because we are yet to understand what is leadership, that is why we are having lots of problems. If you look at many countries
Yes.
in Africa,
Yes.
we have problems.
What about the crisis still? It's still Sudan too is still not at peace.
Pardon?
Sudan too is still not at peace. Not only
You mean
South,
the Sudan
the
of
Republic-
Khartoum?
Yes.
Okay.
They are also not at peace.
Yes. Now, it is part of failure of leadership. When the war in Darfur was going on, the Sudanese armed forces were then fighting the people of South Sudan. So they didn't have enough manpower to subdue the people of Darfur. So they created the Janjaweed. The Janjaweed in Arabic means bandits on horseback.
Okay.
These bandits were the people who went and killed, maimed, and destroyed the properties of the people of Darfur and stole their cattle and also their farmlands. It was this Janjaweed
Yes.
that metamorphosed
Yes.
under Hamdan Dagalo. He was the one that was responsible for all the destruction in Darfur. And he built the militia, which started as Janjaweed,
RSF.
into a fighting force,
Yeah, yeah.
to the extent that he could challenge the government of Sudan. Now, this war between the Sudanese armed forces under Al-Burhan
Yes.
and the Rapid Result Forces under Dagalo
RSF.
have been fighting for months,
Yeah.
and there is no end in sight except destruction. So the issue is this: how did the Republic of Sudan allow a militia to grow so powerful as to challenge the legitimacy of the government of Sudan?
Now let's have a break. More still to come. Please do not go away. Welcome back. Ghana's new president, John Dramani Mahama, paid a walk-in and friendship visit to Niger last weekend, during which the bilateral relationship between the two countries was the focus of his discussions with the head of state, Brigadier General Abdurrahman Tiani. The two countries agreed to work closely to combat terrorism. Abdurrahman Tiani and John Dramani Mahama discussed the terrorist threat in the Sahel and West Africa and reaffirmed their commitment to joining forces to combat the scourge of terrorism, which has been plaguing the sub-region for several years and which is jeopardizing the effective implementation of development plans initiated by their countries' governments. Members of the Ghanaian community living in Niger followed the discussions, and some had expected discussions on the alliance of Sahel States Confederation. A Ghanaian living in Niger stated his view for both countries to continue with the exchanges. The Nigerian head of state will also travel to Accra, Ghana. Meanwhile, the 43rd ECOWAS Chiefs of Defense Staff meeting ends in Abuja with a strong commitment to combat terrorism and other transborder crimes. Chairman of Committee and Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, says the platform provides avenue to critically examine resolutions of the last meeting and prescribe measures to combat emerging regional security threats.
I'm delighted to note that this meeting has been most rewarding. Deliberations have been sincere and forthright, with our collective security being accorded the desired priority. Our gathering over the past 3 days has been geared at promoting regional security, cooperation within the ECOWAS community, and forging common front in addressing our security challenges.
Similarly, the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Mohammed, enjoins ECOWAS Chiefs of Defense Staff to strengthen military collaboration, intelligence sharing, and capacity building to safeguard the region and its people. He was speaking during an event organized by the Defense Headquarters for the 43rd Ordinary ECOWAS Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff in Abuja.
The 43rd Ordinary meeting of the ECOWAS Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff reaffirm our dedication to strengthening military collaboration, intelligence sharing, and capacity building to safeguard our nation and people.
We know the challenges we're facing and how important it is for us to cooperate and collaborate together, as no nation, no single nation or single entity can confront the challenges we're having. We need to work together as brothers.
The Tanzanian government has declared the end of the Marburg virus disease outbreak in the country after confirming no new cases have been reported for 42 days following the last confirmed death case on January 28, 2025. This was at a working session that brought together health stakeholders in Tanzania. The government said despite the outbreak being under control, they will continue to strengthen the health sector, especially on how to deal with outbreaks.
Leo tarehe 13 mwezi wa 3 mwaka 2025.
And on behalf of the government and in accordance with international standards, I announce to the public that Tanzania is now free of the Marburg outbreak.
Sasa Tanzania haina mlipuko wa ugonjwa wa Marburg.
Government announcement from Minister of Health Jenistram Hagama on the end of the Marburg virus disease outbreak that claimed the lives of 2 people in the Biharamulo district comes during a working session involving stakeholders from the health sector aiming to set government strategy on the outbreak.
As we continue to strengthen our medical equipment, we have bought 14 scanners. They give us the assurance of testing all people entering in the country.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Grace Magembe says a team of experts continues to conduct research to identify the real source of the outbreak and come up with measures to be taken to control the outbreak of any kind, while Kagera Regional Commissioner Hajat Fatma Mwasa urges residents of the region to continue to take necessary precautions.
We decided to conduct research to find out the cause of the disease, and the research is ongoing, and it will help us to abstain from the disease in the future as well.
Kwa hiyo sisi tukiwa wakazi wa mipakani,
as people who live along the border, we need to realize that we live in a vulnerable environment, since the neighboring countries sometimes have outbreaks of diseases.
Jirani ambazo nazo hizo nchi zinakabiliwa na magonjwa mengi mbalimbali. Kwa hiyo wakati wote tuchukue tahadhari.
281 people were placed under quarantine after being found to have come into contact with Marburg patients, 64 of whom are health workers.
And here are other stories within the week.
Minova, Lumbushi, Numbi, and Rubaya, known for their mineral wealth, have been taken over by M23 group. These areas are rich in cotton, cassiterite, and gold, vital for global industries, especially electronics. M23 has turned these resources into both a weapon and a funding source. Between April and December 2024, M23 generated about $800 million from illegal cotton mining, fueling the conflicts and disrupting global supply chain. Angola has offered to mediate peace talk between the DRC government and M23, while the United States seek partnership to access the DRC minerals. However, this risks escalating tension with China, which also has mineral interests in the region. The conflict has displaced over 7 million people, further destabilizing the region due to collapse of law enforcement and mass prison breaks, leaving civilians vulnerable to violence.
China is doing so well. Amongst the 8 pillars, the most influential one is an indication that it is a stable place to do business and it has strong growth potential. Now, clearly that is the case with China, has been for years and continues to be the case. But that is, while that's the most important measure, there are many other measures, and China is actually working on all of them. Structure of our soft power is around 8 pillars, and those pillars include technology and innovation and science, and a country standing in those has a very significant effect, because people see the technology and innovations that are coming out of a country, they see the quality of the education of its people, and they all have a very positive effect. Historically, that has been something that America and Britain have strongly dominated, but increasingly China is becoming a power, both in terms of high quality education, but also new innovation.
And that concludes this week's episode of Global Update. We hope you will join us again for another fresh package at the same time next week. I am Chinenye Nwoye.